Hi, and welcome to Empowered Marketing by Professor Hines. This podcast is devoted to beginning marketers and owners of small businesses. We're here to help you learn social media marketing. Each episode presents important elements in social media marketing that you can use in your campaigns to generate better results, especially more business. Empowered Marketing is exclusively sponsored by A-Cubed Marketing Services in Orange County, California. A-Cubed Marketing Services serves small and mid-sized businesses in the areas of strategic marketing consultation, social media marketing using all forms of social media, campaign creation and management in both paid and owned media, pay-per-click campaigns, search engine optimization, graphic design, and videography. A-Cubed Marketing is owned and managed by me, Professor Joe Hines. My experience includes over 20 years of Fortune 100 corporation marketing management, as well as 10 years of academic work as professor at California State University Fullerton, Concordia University, Biola University, Cal Baptist University, and Fullerton College. You can find out more about A-Cubed Marketing Services. Use the link on the homepage of this podcast or call A-Cubed Marketing at 714-872-0561. Welcome back. Episode 10 continues our discussion of social influence and uses the Oracle of Bacon website as an example to discuss how social influence works. If you haven't listened to episode 9 yet, we recommend you do that first to get max benefit from today's conversation. I'm including these central points in my review of social influence: the nature of online communities, a description of the activities that occur in online communities from the perspectives of meaning, belonging, and social identity, and the way that social networks and social communities are generally structured. I'm also continuing to weave older concepts from prior episodes into this new episode today to help you gain a clearer understanding of how everything is fitting together. Apologies for a little mic noise that came from the lavalier mic I used in my classroom this past week. I've done as much possible to restore the quality of the audio, but there is some intermittent rustling noise in a few places. As in previous episodes, there's a PowerPoint presentation which you can download to accompany this and the next several episodes on the topic of social influence. The URL for this was provided in the intro to episode 9. Also, if you're enjoying this content, I also have a vlog called Professor Hines' Weekly Marketing Message. It's available on YouTube, Vimeo, and our website, https://acubedmarketing.com/vlogs/weekly-marketing-message. If you'd like to talk with me about how this information can be put to work in the context of your business, you can also schedule a free consultation with me through Calendly. The URL is https://calendly.com/a-cubed_marketing/introductory-consultation. Okay, well, let's get into it. I'll see you in the classroom at Whittier College. Okay, so as you're going to quickly figure out, there was a lot of reasons why I'm showing that video tonight, because it's really a great example of a lot of the content for this chapter and tonight's lecture. So if you were to play this game, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, what you could do is to say, okay, you put in Steve Carell, for instance, on this website, and it's going to show you how many degrees away from Kevin Bacon Steve Carell is. I mean, you can actually find this site. And I'll send you guys the link into your email later. This is what the site looks like. It's called the Oracle of Bacon. So in this case, you guys know who Anthony Hopkins is? Right? He was like in Silence of the Lambs, he was... Sorry? He plays the psycho. Yeah. Anyway, so Anthony Hopkins has a Bacon number of 2 between him and Kevin Bacon. So there's Anthony Hopkins, who was in a movie called Amistad. You guys ever see Amistad? There was another actor in this film, a guy named Thomas Milan, who was in a movie called JFK. Did you guys ever see JFK? Oliver Stone film? Kevin Bacon was also in JFK. So between Anthony Hopkins and Kevin Bacon, there's just one connection away. So this is why you've got 2 degrees of separation. So this website, you could go to it and plug anybody from Hollywood in that you can imagine and see how they're all connected to each other using Kevin Bacon as the common point. So Oracle of Bacon, if you guys want to search for that. Well, what does that have to, in the world, what does all of that, or any of that, have to do with this class and what we're supposed to be talking about? In social media, we are all, once you join, a site like Facebook or Twitter or whatever, you've joined at least one online community. You're now a Facebooker or an Instagrammer or something. So it's a place, it's a cyber place, it's a location out there, in the internet, where people connect online with other, quote, kindred spirits. Meaning, we're connecting because all of us, somehow, someplace, have some shared interests. Last week, we talked about sports, right? We said, how many of you guys follow the Raiders online? Or, the Clippers, and nobody likes the Clippers, right? Except you, of course. Yeah, okay. And so we said, well, you can be a member of all kinds of these types of groups. The members engage in supportive and sociable relationships. Supportive because a lot of the time we're going there for, remember we talked about why do people use social media? We discussed that last week. What were some of the reasons why people go to social media? Yeah.
Validation.
Validation, that's a good one. What else? Connectivity. Sure. Affinity. Anything else? I'm sorry? Vanity was another one. So there are all kinds of reasons why we're going there. Those are the supportive reasons. We're going there to get certain needs fulfilled. Okay? And it's this sociable relationship thing. I know people that I have all these friends on Facebook. Well, how often do you get together with them? Well, never. How often do you talk with them on the phone? Never. But they're your friends? Maybe. Okay. Depends on how loosely you want to define a friend these days, I guess. Well, our actions, our activities in social media are filled with things like meaning. If I wasn't going there to, because I wanted affinity or, my ego, sort of stroked, right? With this vanity thing. I'm showing people how awesome my life is, and people are giving me an attaboy for it. If I didn't find responses to the kinds of social reasons why I'm there, it's not going to have meaning for me. And I'm going to pretty quickly stop showing up. Did you guys ever go to a party where maybe you went by yourself and you didn't really know anybody there? You kind of looked around, you said, yeah, I'm not going to hang out here real long. Has that ever happened to you guys? All of you guys have had that at least once. So you don't hang out there long, right? Why? Because you went because you wanted to see friends and you wanted to socialize, but you're there and you're not getting that sort of meaningful impact. Nothing personal happening to you. So since it's an empty experience, it has, quote, no meaning, you jet. Belonging. Well, that's, again, I feel like this affinity. I feel like I belong in this group. So that's another reason that we're going there. Identity. We talked about social identity last week. Do you remember that? That term, social identity? Does anybody have a recollection of what that social identity means, what that is? Do the values of that group, does the activity in that group or the content, does it reflect who you are? Yeah. You have a response?
Yeah, the way we represent ourselves via text, image, sounds, and others who access the web.
Right. So people can tell a lot about who we are by the social footprints. Here's another word from last week that we leave behind. Remember what I told you social footprints were? Yes? Who can tell me? Go ahead.
Social media platforms you use,
the pictures, the words, any of that, your videos, whatever, the artifacts. I've told you guys about my trip to Pompeii over the summer and how you go there and it's like an archaeological treasure hunt, right? There's so much there that tells us about the culture that lived there thousands of years ago. Well, just the same way, people can look at your pages and where you've been, and they can read a lot about who you are. I'm going to throw out another word. We're doing a little review tonight. We'll do an exam next week. Big data. We talked a little bit about this term called big social data. What did I say big social data was? Anybody? Well, big social data is the idea that not only do we complete profile pages about ourselves, but the social media marketers out there with the sophisticated software that they're using have the ability to scoop up huge amounts of inferential data, meaning data that they can infer about who we are and what's important to us based on the kinds of things that we've said, the sorts of pictures that we put up, the kinds of conversations we're having. And then they can start to group us into segments psychographically. Psychographics is what? It would be about your attitudes, opinions, beliefs, culture, lifestyle, values, those kinds of things. So they're able to extract a tremendous amount of information about the people who are on social media, and then those companies that are doing this turn it around and they make it available to marketing companies who say, I would like to be able to target liberals living in the Western United States, making a certain amount of income. So some of this is psychographic, some of this is demographic, and now we can be very, very pinpoint accurate about who we want to communicate with. Okay? So we've just touched on a lot of things. We're talking about things that are meaningful to us. We're wanting the sense of belonging. We're wanting the sense of identity. We're showing up more and more frequently in these places if we're finding this stuff, and we're bailing if we're not. Whenever we're there, we're kind of, leaving a lot of footprints behind that other people can come and scoop up and infer a lot of who we are and our identity, which can then be used by marketers as a segmentation tool. So each of these social network sites, they have uniquely identifiable profiles. Okay? And the profiles consist of user-supplied content. This is what I was just mentioning about your footprints. Content that's provided by other users, meaning that if people are not responding to you and you're not responding in turn, and if there's no communication, these sites are largely dead, because these are all about real human interactions. And it's only in the presence of things for us to respond to that we continue to communicate. And it's all of this shared communication between lots of people that gets scooped up and used in this big data kind of a way. Also responding to system-provided data. System-provided data could be, what pages did they go to? What specific things did they click on? What videos did they watch? How long did they watch a video for? Where did they go how did they get to this page? Like from what page to this page, how did they get here? And from here, where else did they go after that? Because we're trying to learn, again, going back to the idea of that buyer persona, we're trying to learn as much about the people who are using social media as possible, one, and the marketers themselves that are creating the pages. We want to give people as many reasons as we can to get them back to our pages so that we can communicate about our brand with our potential consumers. And so we're going to be constantly tweaking the content on our pages based on what we learn about people's responses to the content that's already there. If I'm posting a bunch of videos that no one watches, no one ever comments on, there's no engagement, pretty quickly I'm going to stop creating that sort of content, because the whole point for my effort is that people will jump on it, will share it, will communicate about it, will respond. And if they're not, then obviously my strategies aren't working, and if I'm going to build a market this way, I better shift tactics, or I'm not going to hold your attention for very long. Makes sense, right? Just as if it was a human conversation. You know, you ever sat in a room with somebody having a conversation, and what you think you're talking about is really interesting to you? I mean, you brought up the topic, but pretty quickly you see that the person that you're speaking with is checking their watch, or kind of drumming their fingertips, or, you know, looking around like, how do I get out of this conversation? We notice the same things when people don't click on our links, or when they don't stay on our pages very long. So if I feel like I'm losing the opportunity to communicate with you, if I'm going to make this a relationship and not just a one-time, occurrence, I better change subjects quickly, right? Well, can we publicly articulate connections that can be viewed and traversed by others? When I talk about publicly articulating the connections, meaning I have to build some sort of a structure that people can use to find my pages, where it makes sense that if I want to start a message, and we're going to be talking later about this thing that Kevin Bacon was talking about. He was talking about influence, a lot of it. If I'm an influence leader, and I, like Kevin Bacon or the people in Hollywood are, if I want to take something that's an important cause to me, and I want to lend my support to it, I'm at the top of this big thing called an influence cascade. I know that there are people who are directly connected to me who have less influence than I do, but whom other people, even below them, are equally influenced by. Kevin Bacon might be at the top of the pyramid. Then there's another level below him of people who look up to Kevin Bacon and like him, and if he says something's cool, they're likely to check it out. If they check it out and they also were pretty impressed by it, those people at that second tier might then use their personal influence to share it with people at a lower level. You see? And so this is the way that we can start messages growing through social media, from a very high level of influence to succeeding lower levels of influence, until a lot of people are reached. Okay? I mean, a guy like Kevin Bacon is likely going to have thousands of contacts. You guys ever taken a look at Donald Trump's Twitter page? If you ever do look at it, you're going to see literally hundreds of millions of people who are following Trump on Twitter. He has a tremendous amount of influence, right? He has a lot of influence. Now, he probably, he is at the top of that pyramid. The people that are in successively lower layers of the pyramid, each of them have fewer connections. So that as I go from Donald Trump to level 2, the people at level 2 each have fewer connections than he does. The people that are underneath level 2, they all have fewer connections than the people at level 2 do, and so on and so forth. So if you, as a marketer, want to throw out a new product idea and get a lot of people to know about it quickly and hopefully like it and think it's cool, you're going to give your product samples and, your endorsement opportunities to the people at the top. Michael Jordan's a great example, right? Back in the 90s, I Like Mike and everything that, Nike company paid Jordan to wear their shoes, and he was the man, right? Well, that's because ultimately, at the end of the day, there were kids in the streets who looked up to Jordan like a god, and all of his influence, because he was wearing Nike, for instance, wore off on them. That's the kind of influence that we're talking about. So third thing is, can you consume, produce, and or interact with streams of user-generated content provided by the connections on the site? So remember that Kevin Bacon said that he had these good cards, remember? And each of the people in Hollywood got to name their cause that they thought was really important. And they then shared what was really important through their network to other people successively below them, for those people to interact with the information, hear about the cause, consume, maybe go out and consume the product. This is streams of user-generated content. So Michael, let's say, Michael Jordan hears from Kevin Bacon about this good card, and Michael Jordan's thing, maybe his thing is, Paralympics. He thinks that the Paralympics are something that he wants to lend his personal clout to. And he wants people to donate, because running those Paralympics is an expensive thing every year. And it costs millions and millions and millions of dollars to put it on. So Jordan doesn't have enough money to do it on his own, even though he loves it. But he knows that there are millions and millions of people around the world that think, that they really like him. And if Jordan thinks that the Paralympics are a cool idea, likely they're going to put in $5-10. But $5 or $10 each times 10 million people becomes a ton of money. You see? So that's because he used his influence to get people to, quote, consume the idea that the Paralympics are a worthy cause that everybody should support. Okay? Well, social networks are composed of a number of things. You've got nodes and network units. There are interactions that happen across these networks, and there's also what we call flows. And let's look at each of those in turn. Nodes are members of the network. Yeah, Anthony Hopkins. So that Anthony Hopkins, there's another guy here in the middle. I forgot what he was. Let's just call that, X. And then you've got Kevin Bacon here. This person here is a node between Anthony Hopkins and Kevin Bacon. So the node, in this direction, I've got Anthony Hopkins. Down here, I've got Kevin Bacon. And I've got 2 degrees of separation. This connection right here, right directly between this node person and Anthony Hopkins, is a first level connection. There is no direct connection between Anthony Hopkins and Kevin Bacon, but there is just one step in between. That's the second degree. Okay? So we have as I can continue to build this out, right? Obviously, let's say that Julia Roberts knows Kevin Bacon, but she doesn't know this person, but Kevin Bacon knows this person, and Anthony Hopkins knows this person. So Julia Roberts now is 3 degrees separated from Anthony Hopkins. So we're beginning to create a network. Makes sense, right? And you can do this with organizations, and you can do this with people. Interactions are the behavior-based ties.
This podcast, Empowered Marketing by Professor Hines, is exclusively sponsored by A-Cubed Marketing Services in Orange County, California. In business since 2013, A-Cubed Marketing offers a complete suite of internet marketing services, including strategic marketing consultation, social media marketing using all forms of social media, campaign creation and management in both paid and owned media, pay-per-click campaigns, search engine optimization, graphic design, and videography. A-Cubed Marketing is owned and managed by Professor Joe Hines. His experience includes over 20 years of Fortune 100 corporate marketing management, as well as 10 years of academic work as professor at California State University Fullerton, Concordia, Biola, Cal Baptist University, and Fullerton College. Find out more about A-Cubed Marketing Services use the link on the homepage of this podcast or call A Cubed Marketing at 714-872-0561.